Moms who know do less so they can focus on what matters most, taking care of themselves, their families, and living their God-given purpose. Moms who know focus on the little things they can do that grow to have a huge impact. You are connecting with your family, your true self, and your God-given purpose. You are a mom who knows. Hello and welcome to Moms Who Know. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen, and my guest today is Heather Adams. Heather, thank you for being here with us.
Oh, Chanel, it's such a delight to be with you. Thank you for having me.
We were talking before the call, and I can't quite hear the Southern in your voice, but I hear the Southern in your manners. Aren't those just beautiful Southern manners, you guys? I just hear it. Like she is a Southern woman.
Oh,
and I love it. I love it. There's like the tiniest hint of Southern in your accent, but in your mannerism. So it's beautiful, and I'm excited to have you here and to talk to moms today. So let me introduce you to the audience really quick. So Heather is a widely recognized communication expert, a savvy strategist, and a passionate mentor to women. She's using her platform to inspire and encourage moms, business owners, and the females that come behind her. She's a mom to 2 active young boys, and she understands the challenge of navigating being a committed mother. So today we are going to talk about self-care, and I think Heather is just a great person to lead us in this conversation and to help us understand ways that we can fit self-care in during the busy seasons of life. And I don't know about you, Heather, but sometimes I feel like every season is a busy season of life.
I know. I'm waiting for that time when things slow down. I'm not sure that is going to happen anytime soon.
I know. Isn't it funny? I talk to friends a lot and we say like, oh, well, it's really crazy right now because it's the end of school, or because the kids are home for the summer, or because school just started, or because the holidays, and it just goes on and on. And I don't know if it ever calms down.
And I know we are coming out of baseball season. Both of my boys play travel baseball, and it's, basically 9 months out of the year because they play pretty much every month but the winter months here. And so I'm like, oh, well, we're about to have we can take a deep exhale and breathe a little. Our calendar won't quite be as busy. And then I realized, oh, but we're moving into basketball season. And so it's not for us. It's just as crazy.
It's so true. Right. And as soon as one thing ends, another starts. I think that's really typical for most of us. And so we need it. We need self-care even when it's busy, because I think what happens is this. Sometimes as moms, we're like, okay, well, right now it's baseball season. And so it's just too busy. And so I just have to be last on my list because I have to take care of this. But maybe we have this hope that someday in the future, things are going to calm down, without thinking, like you said, well, next season is basketball season and it's going to be too crazy to take care of myself then. And so we have to make it a priority. And so I think you're going to help us to see that and help us to do that today. So let's start with learning a little bit more about you through your personal self-care strategy. Tell us a little bit. You've got 2 boys, ages 10 and 12. You work, you're a busy mom. What does your self-care strategy look like?
Well, I will tell you, Chanel, that this is not something that I have always been great at. I definitely was one of those women who put myself at the bottom of the list every single time and prioritized everybody else. And, my self-care strategy came out of that because I was burning the candle at both ends. I was trying to be good to all the different things, vying for my attention, all the different commitments and obligations that I had. And it was really affecting me holistically. It was affecting my health, and it was affecting my mental wellness, and it was affecting my body. Just everything was affected. So I'll tell you that I have 5 things that I do that have really come to light in the last probably 2 years for me, that are part of my self-care kind of strategy. One is I start every day getting up earlier than anybody else and having 15 minutes. 15 minutes for me is manageable, not an hour, not several hours, not 30 minutes, 15 minutes of quiet kind of devotional time for me. That can look like writing in a journal. That could look like reading a devotional. That could look like listening to a beautiful song, whatever it is for you that makes sense. But it's before the noise of the day starts. I really like to ground myself in some quiet and some scripture to get my day started. So that's the first thing that I do.
Oh, I'm going to interrupt you for a second because I love
Sure.
that one so much. Morning routine is just a passion of mine. And that getting up before anyone else, I love that you do 15 minutes because I have this whole big old long morning routine and I love that. But 15 minutes, I think people can hear that and go, yeah, I can do that. Like I can totally do that.
Because it's accessible,
Yeah.
I mean, I am not in a season where I can take an hour to sit down and do my devotional. I can't. It just, it feels overwhelming. And I don't want it to feel like one more thing to check off. I want it to fill my day and start my day well. And so I have found a couple of apps and a couple of books and journals and things that work for me. But, it's going to be different for each person. But what I was doing before was I was sleeping in right until I needed to get the boys up. And then I had zero time to kind of get myself prepared for the day before I started with my husband and my boys' day.
Yeah. Yes. Even just mentally, that makes such a difference. So you're mentioning a lot of different things you do in that time. Do you switch it up or is it pretty consistent day to day?
I switch it up because even though I'm a creature of habit, so the 15 minutes is kind of every day, always. It's a little bit different depending on what I'm doing. So I might change out the devotional I'm reading, or I might decide that I really want to spend that time writing, 10 things I'm grateful for in the day. I think gratitude plays a big role in my mental wellness. And so incorporating that into the practice. So I change it up a little bit and don't do the exact same thing every time. But there may be people that all you want to do is the exact same thing. And that's okay too. But it really helps me start my day off well. So that's the first thing that I do for self-care. The second thing I do is I pay attention to what goes in my mouth. And that starts me out. I start my day out after the devotional with creating a smoothie. I make a smoothie every single day. I drink the exact same one every day. The same things go into it. But I know that if I drink that smoothie and start my day off eating something good for my body to begin with, that I will make better choices throughout the day. I'm not a believer in diets and fads and all of that stuff. I just believe in eating, good things to take care of my body. And of course, that means not depriving myself at times, but starting myself out with a smoothie. And the one that I do is this woman named Kelly LeVeque. She has a great book full of all these smoothie recipes, but she calls them the Fab Four smoothies. And so it's a handful of things that go in there. And that's the second thing that I do is paying attention to what goes in my mouth.
Awesome. So give us just like an overview of what is in that smoothie.
What's in it?
Yeah.
So I use unsweetened almond milk. I use protein powder, and I use vanilla protein powder, collagen, flaxseed and chia seed, spinach, frozen blueberries, and a scoop of almond butter. That's what goes into it every single morning.
That sounds delicious. Okay, yum.
It's so good. And it sets my body for the day. And, I try to eat well, but I don't always make great decisions with my food. It's definitely a place where I am still a work in progress. And so I know by starting my day off well and having, it kickstart my metabolism and all of those things, it just has made a difference for me. And I've been doing it for probably 2 years. I've been having this smoothie every morning.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. So physically getting all that stuff, because that's all great stuff to put in your body, but also mentally, you aren't going to go reach for a candy bar in an hour because you're like, hey, I started off this day so good. I don't want to blow it now.
Correct. So the days that I don't have my protein shake in the morning or smoothie, whatever you want to call it, I notice that I don't make as good of choices throughout the day and what I'm putting in my mouth, and so that's why I try to make sure I start it out every day. The third thing for me is exercise, and this is an area where I have really, really struggled, and I'm sure, like a lot of women that listen to your podcast, they find it hard to put this into their schedule and onto their calendar. So 2 years ago, January, 2 years ago, I decided, okay, I have got to get take care of my body. I was 42 years old at the time, and I was saying, something's got to change. My metabolism has slowed. My body has changed. I've had 2 babies. They're older. I've got to take care of myself. This is the only, body that I've got. And I decided that I was going to start exercising. Well, I hate to exercise. I don't enjoy it. I don't like running. I don't like lifting weights. And so I was really on this hunt for how can I find something that I practically enjoy and that I can incorporate into my schedule. So when I was a young girl, I danced for a long time and I really loved it. And I haven't done it in a long time. And so I found a barre class. And I decided I was going to start with 1 day a week. And that was the only thing I was going to try to do, was go 1 day a week and see how I liked it. Well, I loved it. And I was putting it on my calendar and making it a priority. And I was protecting the time on my calendar. And so 1 day turned into 2. And now I go between 3 and 4 days a week. And it's because I see the benefit of going. I feel stronger. I haven't lost pounds on a scale, and I don't really get on the scale very frequently. It's just how I like to feel. You're gaining muscle and your body's toning up, and I have definitely seen a change in my body, but I just feel so much better about myself and about the way that I look and feel, and I feel stronger because I'm doing it. And so exercise for me is a part of that self-care strategy.
Love it.
Yeah. The fourth thing is going to sound completely counterintuitive because it's going to sound like one more thing to add to your to-do list. But for me, it is a way that I feel like I'm taking care of myself, and that is hospitality. I love hosting people in my home. It could be having one of the boys' baseball teams over and having pizza, and all the boys are in the house and they're just hanging out and spending time together, or we're having their families, their parents and their families over too. It could be our life group at church having a potluck, once a week and having them over, or just a few couples and having a small intimate dinner party. But this year in particular, I have put one thing on the calendar a month where we are hosting in some way in our home, and it is filling my bucket, and it is really making me feel like I'm taking care of myself because I'm spending time building community with people that I love.
Yeah, I love that. And that's not something we hear a lot with self-care, but I do think it's vital because one of the things that we absolutely need is that connection piece. Right. And I am like you. I love to have people over. There's something just so it's just a real way to connect. Also, my husband will help clean in, he's great about helping anyway, but when someone's coming over, man, that man can work and it's great. And our house gets clean and it's fantastic. So it has that added benefit too, because everyone kind of pitches in and gets to work. But I think that that's a key piece in self-care that a lot of us are missing. Because if you're going, all these things, we're waking up early and we're eating right and we're exercising, we're doing those things. But if you're alone and if you feel lonely, you're still going to be missing that piece, and you are not going to have everything you need. And like you said, it fills you. that connection with other people.
Definitely. And I think so often we feel so much pressure for our house to be perfect, or for the meal to be home cooked, or for all of the things to be in place, and for there to be a perfect setting in order to host people in our home. And I just want to relieve women of that pressure, because you can grab pizza or you can make a quick cheese board and it not be fancy, and women and families that come and spend time with you are going to love you because you have opened your home and you are nurturing and loving on them well.
Totally.
And so I think we have to relieve ourselves of thinking that it has to be perfect in order for us to do it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, let go of the pressure. And do you know, when our house, and let me just clarify here, we are cleaning before people come over, but it's not ever perfect. So I'm living that one.
The same way.
Yeah, we're just making sure the boys' bathroom, there's no smells coming out of there, because we've got 4 boys, and I'll stop right there. I'm not going to not throw them under the bus too much. But anyway, the people like it when they see a little of your mess, when they see your realness, when they, see that, because we all have it. And then when people come over and you've got, whatever that's imperfect, they're like, oh, now I can really be friends with you. Now we can connect.
Right.
And when we try to be, perfect Harriet homemaker and everything sparkling, and we have an apron on and we're serving this, beautiful meal, it's intimidating for people. So even if you are
really
Harriet homemaker, let that go a little and, show you're imperfect.
So I love for my home to be clean and neat and tidy. I'm an Enneagram 1, which is the perfectionist. So for me, physical clutter equals mental clutter. So I'm with you. Like, I love things to look and feel beautiful in my home. But I'll never forget one time we had another family over whose kids are around the same age as our boys, and that we just love spending time with. And I had a pile of laundry sitting on the floor outside of our laundry room, which is in our kitchen. So our laundry room is off of the kitchen. And so the pile was sitting kind of close to the kitchen area. And they saw it. And she said to me, I know that we are real friends now because you have a pile of laundry sitting there, even though you have us over. And so I just think freeing women of that feeling that everything has to be absolutely perfect to host people in their homes. The community that you're building and the relationship you're developing is so much more important than, if the countertops have been, wiped down. So that's the 4th thing for me that is really important in self-care. But my last thing may be the most important, and that for me is therapy. I go to therapy on a regular, consistent basis. Every month, I'm seeing her when it's just a normal, life is going on and all of that. And when I'm going through a hard season or a challenge or something difficult, I see her more frequently. Self-talk for me is really, really hard. It's probably the number one thing that I struggle with, as somebody who is a perfectionist and who likes things to be done a certain way and, all of that. My self-talk can be really negative. And I remember when I first started seeing my therapist, her name is Tracy. I remember Tracy looking at me and saying, you're amazing at self-care. You are terrible at self-talk. And that's what we're going to work on together. And so spending time with her, constantly working on, what I'm dealing with in life and what I'm navigating and how to keep myself in a really positive, healthy place is critical to me being good to anybody else in this world. And so therapy is a really important and probably the most critical component of my self-care strategy.
Okay, that is so interesting. Now, do you feel like everyone needs that? Everyone could benefit from that? Or is there a way, maybe people need differing levels of support? Talk to me about kind of the universal Ality, I don't know what word I'm trying to say, but the universalness of that, like how universal is that? Or like, do some people need a coach, or is this something that could be filled by a really helpful friend, or what is the need that's being filled there?
So I think everyone should have a therapist. And I think there are ways that you can do it that are more cost effective than others, because some people may not be able to afford to go to a therapist on a regular basis if their insurance doesn't cover it, for example. The place where I go has kind of a sliding scale of what you pay depending on your income and they don't ever want cost to be a reason that you're not going. They have scholarships for people who can't afford it and things like that. So I think finding a resource like that, but it is the single most important thing that I do for myself, because Tracy is invested in me being the best Heather I can be holistically, as a mom, as a business owner, as a wife, as a sister and daughter, as a friend, as a mentor. Like, she's looking at me holistically and helping me navigate all those seasons that I'm walking through. And I think she's unbiased. Whereas if you spend time with a friend or a family member and you're walking through, while they may be a great listener, or they may be a champion for you and a prayer warrior, or just a really good companion to have, they are bringing bias to that and perspective to that. And Tracy doesn't, because her job is to help me be in the best mental state that I can be in. And so she comes at it from an unbiased perspective. And I think that's why it's so phenomenal to spend time with someone like that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Well, I've never worked with a therapist, but I have worked with coaches, and a similar thing there where they're just invested in you and involved with you. And there's something just magical about that portion of it that, like you said, you can't get from friends and family members. It's just a little bit, it's a different relationship. And yeah, so that's really neat. I'm glad you brought that out. That's not something when we talk about self-care that we hear very often. And it's especially powerful that it, of all these things, that it has meant so much to you, and that you say it is the most important.
Right. Totally.
So what other things, as we kind of wrap this up, I think your self-care has given us so many insights into things we can do and ways to think about. What other things do moms need to know about self-care?
Well, for me, for years, I thought self-care was going and getting a manicure and a pedicure, or going and getting a massage, or things. I think society has conditioned us to believe that those are elements of self-care. And I think those are certainly nice things to do for yourself and for your body. And I love going and getting a pedicure just as much as the next girl. But to me, self-care now is a much bigger picture. And it's going to be different for every single woman. It's going to be what it is that is making you the best version of yourself. It could be every day you take a 30-minute walk in the afternoon in your neighborhood by yourself. And that is an element of self-care that really helps you be your best self. Or it could be, incorporating a date night once a week with your husband into your weeks is a great way for you to take care of yourself, because you're investing in your marriage. I think it's going to look different for every single woman, but I just think you have to look at it from the purview of, when am I my best self? What are those elements that I am doing to take care of myself when I am firing on all cylinders?
Yes. And I love the individuality piece that I hear coming out. It's very individual. It's not just, here's your prescription for self-care and this is what everyone needs to do. It's look at what you need, take what you need, and that is self-care. So all these 5 items that you've given, that's your self-care. And I think there's elements that are going to apply to many, many people, but maybe someone's self-care looks totally different, and that's okay because it's a matter of filling your needs. So
Absolutely.
Such good stuff. Now tell people where they can find you, but also a little bit more about what they'll find when they get there and what you help women with.
Oh, thank you for asking that. So my favorite place to connect is on Instagram, and you can find me at Heather Dixon, Dixon Adams, Heather Dixon Adams on Instagram. And what you're going to find there is, I love to empower and nurture and develop women, specifically women who are either in the season that I'm in or women who are coming behind me and who I can help navigate a path, ahead of them. And you're going to find all kinds of stuff about me and my husband and my 2 boys. We even have a hashtag called Dudes and Doll, where it's, when I'm dating my children or when I'm dating my husband or parenting moments that I'm going through, you're going to find a lot of information about that. I own and run a PR firm out of Nashville, Tennessee. It's called Choice Media and Communications. You'll see stuff that I am navigating there with work and life and how those two intersect and the dynamic of managing both. I talk a lot about productivity and how I manage all the things that are vying for my attention and what we're doing for our clients in that space. And then I'm passionate about fashion and beauty, and I am certainly not an expert. So I love to share with real women kind of what I'm doing in my skincare routine, or what I'm wearing to tailgates this fall, or how I'm putting together outfits for holiday parties, or whatever it is of that season that I'm in. I love just sharing what is working for me, and being motivational and encouraging in that space, and being accessible so that it doesn't feel like it takes so much money and time in order to do those things well.
That sounds so fun, and so many fun things there. So you guys definitely go check that out. And as we finish up, my last question for you is this. We've talked a lot about self-care today, and there are a lot of different things that people could do. As we kind of sum it up, I would ask you this. What one little thing do you hope that people take and then do because of what they've heard today?
I would hope that element of self-talk for you, that you talk to yourself positively in your head, that the story that you are writing in your life, that you are encouraging to yourself. And when you figure out what it is that makes sense to take care of yourself well, that one of those elements is the way that you're talking to yourself.
So important. I love that. I think that is powerful and something we can all work on, because when you stop to notice, there's a lot of negative self-talk, and even around other people, we hear it come out sometimes. So even if you think it's hidden and it's only inside, those words come out, those phrases come out, and we need to be really careful and to definitely work on that. So that is a powerful one. Heather, thank you so much for being with us and for teaching us today.
My pleasure. Such a thrill to be with you and all of those women that you are leading so well.
Oh, thank you. And thank you everyone for listening to Moms Who Know. Heather was so much fun to talk to, and there were so many good things in this episode. It was really jam-packed with just things that you can put into action. So what I want to know, as always, is what are you going to do about it? What one little thing are you going to think about differently or do differently because of what you've heard today? Let me know on Facebook or Instagram at Moms Who Know Podcast. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend. You can do that on social media or in real life, which is always a good place to share. And let us know how things are going, what you're thinking. I love it when I hear from you guys. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week here at Moms Who Know.